There's 104 days.
Wait, 104 days? Hi everyone, Sonic Show Jaden here. I'm back out my coma, and one thing that doesn't change is Sonic Show is always right. Feel free to fill out and submit your apology forms. And why? Well, I have some great news for fans of these legacy Sonic characters that Sega hasn't acknowledged in quite some time. So a while back, I reported on the datamine findings for Sonic Blitz, a game that literally nobody cares about. But the thing that is interesting about Sonic Blitz is its implication for future mainline titles, with Sega testing the waters and frontiers in many ways, one of the biggest being references to the series past, such as including Tangle from IDW or Sticks from Sonic Boom, something many fans thought would never happen, and with how surprisingly well received these acknowledgements are, is a green flag for Sega to include these older characters in a more prevalent role, as nostalgia for classic Sonic is waning, but nostalgia for these past titles is becoming more prevalent and profitable. And this is even indicated with Crossworlds, putting in the Werehog as a pre-order bonus, a character and mechanic that was literally so hated in the 2000s and made fun of by everyone, but with time is now well accepted and even loved among the fan base. However, on the topic of Sonic Blitz, it actually goes much deeper than that, with us finding the inclusion of characters yet to be included in these mainline titles, such as Cosmo from Sonic X and Sally Acorn, alongside a massive list of characters so long, when I initially reported on it, just reading through the list was a significant portion of the video. And that takes us to where we're starting today, and I'm actually super excited to cover this, because while many of you doubted, saying these were just placeholder text and files, guys, they're gonna be removed by the time the game releases. But yet, a lot of time and updates have passed since that coverage, and where we are today comes with some truly great news to cover. Wow. And devastatingly bad news for those coping who want to not believe. Sorry, Reddit atheists, today just isn't your day. As with these updates, not only are a majority of these characters not removed, but a lot of them now have expanded descriptions and 3D models, with Vanilla the Rabbit, Cream's mom, getting her first ever official 3D model ever. And this news essentially confirms that the characters we're going to be talking about in the code as of right now will not only be coming to the game, but with these past few updates, some are even unlockable now, such as the aforementioned Vanilla, alongside many others. And with them expanding on more content for these future releases now, it's pretty certain they aren't scrapped in the slightest, and Sega is finally feeling free to touch on these forgotten legacy characters. Something I've seen a lot of people argue about who owns the legal rights to, but with evidence and research I've obtained, courtesy of data miner Alex Hedgefox, Sega actually has full ownership of basically every character now, minus the Echidna family that Ken Penders won in a lawsuit. So besides that handful of characters, literally nothing is stopping Sega now, which I'll of course go through what characters receive this updated treatment, as it's again a massive list, but you gotta do something for me too. It's been over 100 days, I've done plenty of other things, some that I'm excited to share with you guys really soon, but the algo probably isn't my biggest fan right now. So drop a like to support Funny Raccoon Man and sub with notifications on, because I cover the stuff like leaks that a lot of other creators are frankly too scared to touch, as they don't want Papa Sega mad at them. Something that any of you who have seen my videos before know I'm clearly not against. I'm definitely a bigger fan of Sega than they are of me. And with that, let's now get into what specifically was added and what this means for the next mainline title, something that it appears we're gonna see in 2026 or at the latest early 2027. Any later is literally insane, considering it'd be 1-to-1, the same length if not longer between Forces and Frontiers, which even that was an unprecedented length between mainline games that the series has never had before. So to get right into it, courtesy of Alex Hedgefox and brought to my attention by Sonic Stadium, a great source for written Sonic news, one of the most significant things this Sonic Blitz update adds is a bunch of info to the Archie characters in specific, starting with the one everyone wants to hear about, Sally Acorn, a character so popular that they're the only one to have ever had a super major campaign just to beg Sega to bring her back, with Rally for Sally. And I'll read her description and then go into why this is so important, but her new description reads, Princess Sally Acorn is a Mobian chipmunk, the daughter of King Nigel Acorn and leader of the Freedom Fighters. Born as the heir to her father's throne, she was taken as a child to the sanctuary of Knothole Village in the Wood Zone by Rosie Woodchuck when her father was betrayed by his royal advisor, Dr. Eggman, and led the Freedom Fighters on many field missions against the scientists when he took power after banishing the king to the Special Zone. After Nigel Acorn was rescued and resumed his role as king, Sally continued to lead the Freedom Fighters in the ongoing battle against the Eggman Empire. And the reason why I read that description and why I think it's important is I've seen this a lot. Many of you may already think this as well watching this, but tons of people are saying Sega just copy-pasted the wiki description, which is partially true. A lot is taken from the wiki, but altered and reformed in a new way. However, the reason for that should be very obvious to anyone putting at least a couple seconds of thought into this, but it in no way means that she isn't coming to the final release. In fact, actually means the complete opposite. And for those who didn't figure it out, the reason is simply that these people who are formerly Rovio staff pre-acquisition by Sega have literally no clue about the 30 years of deep Sonic lore, something that even as a pretty decently sized Sonic creator myself for like many years now, I'm not going to pretend like I know every bit of lore about the series past, especially since you'd otherwise have to watch every episode of every Sonic show, read every Archie comic, read every IDW comic, and played every game beginning to end. A literal ton to ask of some poor guy who's just being paid to make, let's be real, a shout-out slop card game skinned with Sonic. This isn't like a mainline Sonic game where there's teams of writers, including Ian Flynn, but rather it's just some dudes that, from my understanding, I believe are outsourced from the Philippines, being told, hey, this is Papa Sega, we want a cash cow slop card game with literally no effort involved. Just take these characters and put them in, okay? So it'd be actually crazy to expect entirely new, fully thought out, researched bios for a card game from people who have never even touched the series before they were acquired around the end of 2023. And to back this up and make matters even better, Shuji Utsumi, the president and COO over Sega of Japan and CEO of Sega of America and Europe, in an interview on the Game Business Show says this.
And then actually we are working closely to have Sonic mobile game working closely with Rovio right now. And then we are giving them to have access to our IPs, including Sonic, to come up with nice, welcoming GOS titles.
Also, for those who don't know, GOS is short for Games as a Service. But yes, their plan really is that simple. They're literally handing over all the Sonic IP they own to the Rovio team to try and make this game a success, something that with a card game needing such a big roster to have literally any chance of being successful, these legacy characters in IP will be extremely vital to the success of this game. And it makes sense because even I, who really doesn't care at all about this game, will probably play it a bit once these legacy characters that I want to see are added. And all that to mention, while it's definitely derivative of the wiki's bios, the ones in the game's code has been changed and altered, but in smaller ways. And the wiki, since it's based entirely on the Sonic IP, can't be copyrighted, and Sega is legally completely within the rights to just copy and paste the bios one-to-one exactly if they really wanted to. But again, worth mentioning that it is not an exact one-to-one copy-paste anyways. Now, with that important context out of the way, let's get into what appears next, and I'll skim past the bios mostly. I don't think I'm going to read any. I mean, if you don't recognize any of the characters' names, you could just go on the wiki yourself and read it, okay? I don't need to baby you guys. I just had to get that out of the way because it's crazy how many people are trying to use this seemingly very obvious reason as some kind of own to say, actually, it's debunked and they're gonna remove all the characters, which ironically, they just keep adding to with these updates. Although I'll get into it later, but one of the earlier updates it had didn't remove a bunch of stuff, but did censor the names of a ton of characters with their code still being there, but the spot where the name goes literally just being blank. I've seen a good amount of people say this is to try to cover their tracks after data miners leaked, all the info. And I don't know if that's 100% the case, but for now, it's the strongest theory. That said, everything I'm covering today is stuff that isn't removed, and I'll make clear later on what exactly was taken out. There's also updated bios for Antoine Decollette and Bunny Decollette, a lot of the 90s characters that haven't appeared since then. But again, I won't read them for brevity and saving your own time, as I mean, it's not really that relevant to the story. So for the part everyone's waiting for, here's an updated list of everyone currently in the code for the game, with some of these characters already unlockable as of right now. I'll cover it after. I think it's kind of surprising that many of the characters you would expect to already be in the game and unlockable, such as Shadow, isn't actually even unlockable and in the game, it's just in the code. So very weird of Sega to add Vanilla before they added Shadow. But regardless, let's get into the list, and it's as follows: Vanilla the Rabbit, Flicky, Sonic the Hedgehog, Miles Tails Prower, Amy Rose, Knuckles the Echidna, Bark the Polar Bear, Bean the Dynamite, Big the Cat, Blaze the Cat, Caterkiller, Chaos Zero, Cheese the Chow, Chocola the Chow, Cubot, Dr. Eggman, Dr. Starline, E102 Gamma, E123 Omega, Emerald, Grounder, Chow, just a regular Chow, Marine the Raccoon, Mechasonic Mark II, Metal Knuckles, Mighty the Armadillo, Nicole the Hololynx, Oma Chow, Orbot, Princess Sally Acorn, Norman. And I'll continue reading the list, but at this point, there's a bunch of empty strings where the code and character IDs are still here, but for some of them, the names have either been temporarily removed entirely, leaving the code remaining, but them being the only ones to have zero text in them, Again, likely to stop spoilers from people like me scouring their code for hints at what's coming down the pipeline, as well as many being disconnected and spaced far down, and the over 15,000 lines of code here. And I'm not exaggerating with that number, and that's just one of these documents. But to continue the list, Shadow the Hedgehog, Silver the Hedgehog, Sonar the Fennec, who's one of the characters whose name they try to hide in the code, and it's a shame they aren't smarter because they kept the bio in there and it literally says their name on it. Something they also did with Sonia from Sonic Underground. And at least they were smart enough to remove Manic's name and his bio from it, but for some reason they removed Sonia's name but kept the bio. Guys, her name is in the bio. Obviously, I know who this is. Sonic doesn't have a lot of sisters, okay? And to continue reading, we have Dr. Fukurakov, Storm the Albatross, Supersonic, Tangle the Lemur, Tumble the Skunk, Vector the Crocodile, Wave the Swallow, Whisper the Wolf, E100 Alpha/0, and below this, there's a bunch of other names that also have been censored, seemingly new characters, but instead of just replacing the names, they filled it with coming soon, as it's very clear Sega is aware of our antics looking through the code, which makes sense as the Cosmo news was literally blowing up the Sonic community for a good few weeks, so I get why they do this with the characters they really want to keep secret, and I'm sorry Sega, I'm just doing my job. Don't hate the player, hate the game. And also, there's still a ton more characters to read off, but going through the code, it's also interesting that a lot of these characters, many of whom everyone said would totally be removed, also now have rules and stats that convey how they interact with the card game itself. Something that makes it very clear their inclusion is real and not just some schizo theory. And as a reminder, I am not schizophrenic. They also try to hide Charmy for some reason as well, with them again sillily leaving the bio in too. Listen, Sega, I know I haven't uploaded in a long time, so you probably think you're safe, but you gotta try to hide the leaks a little harder than that. Like, come on. As well as one of the names being censored was Amy. They censored Amy Rose's name. Obviously, she's going to be in the game. Do you guys think I'm stupid? And for transparency, I'm not going to point out any more of these occurrences throughout, as it happens with a lot more characters from now. But just keep in mind that they tried the same poor naming hiding gimmick for a massive chunk of the following characters, meaning any ones that don't have a bio in currently, I'm not and won't be able to put on the list. So just keep that in mind, as the list of characters actually goes much further than what I tangibly have here right now. And I mean, that shouldn't be a shock. It is a card game after all. But I can't confirm these characters until they update the code with the names themselves, something I extremely doubt they'll do before it goes public, since again, they know me and many others are watching them like a hawk and sitting through each of the 100 strings of code with every update they put out. Regardless, the list continues with Cream the Rabbit, Dumai, Infinite, Tikal the Echidna, Espio the Chameleon, Yacker, Heavy Shinobi, Froggy, Honey the Cat, who I know many in particular want, and to assure these folks, I'll say that, like almost everyone here, also has an updated bio, so the odds she comes is extremely high. Hold out hope, my honey pots. Your favorite cat will be coming. Continuing the list, we've got Jet the Hawk, no Hawk to a joke here, okay? Motobug, Dot on Paw, Coral the Beta, Chip, Chow Twin, Hawk the Tua. You thought I wasn't gonna make any Hawk Tua jokes? Fuck you. Bunny D. Coulette, Antoine D. Coulette, Ricky, Buzzer, Anton, Sir Galahad, Johnny, who everyone bullied me for not knowing who this was. And yes, you guys are right, I haven't played any of the portable Sonic games outside of Battle, okay? But I do now have Rush and Rush Adventure, and I will play them soon, okay? I promise. Hero Chow, Rouge the Bat, Pachacamac, Zaz, Wacky, Trip the Sungazer, Ray the Flying Squirrel, Speedy, aka Battle Cuckoo 16. From my understanding, I think these are separate characters, but the bio literally says Speedy, aka Battle Cuckoo, so I don't know. Take that as you will. SCR-GP, King Boom Boo, The Conductor, Metal Tails, Master Zik, Egg Robo, Hermit Coco, Elder Coco, Dark Chow, Metal Sonic, Heavy Magician, Gold. I'm not sure if this is a character. I know there is a Sonic character named Gold, but this could just be the currency or something. The code is extremely unorganized, so I'm not sure if Gold is a character or not. Zor Shadow, Heavy Rider, Gemeral, Mephiles the Dark, Fang the Hunter, and Xena. Also again, some of these are already in the game, such as Vanilla, but for those with little patience, I'm sad to inform you, I wouldn't expect too many obscure characters anytime soon. As one, the game is only out in the Philippines, and I believe now in Brazil, and two, they haven't even added Shadow, despite his files being in the game for a while now. So I wouldn't expect too many of these types of characters until the game gets a global release, which with Sonic Rumble's social person trying to desperately say that the game will still come out before the end of the year, and by desperate, I mean literally replying to everyone on Twitter who asks, okay? You don't even have to at them. Just say, oh man, when's Sonic Rumble coming out? And you'll get a reply that says, we're still aiming for the end of the year. And yes, you're right. We're in October. There's 2 months left, but they're still confident, so maybe a late November, early December drop? I don't know. Is it too late? Will the game even have life at this point? Like, I don't know. So with that, I highly doubt Blitz will get a global release until at least 6 months after Rumble does. As, no offense to Sonic Blitz. Why am I even saying that? It's a stupid card game. Tons of offense. But Sonic Rumble is like a way better game in every way imaginable. So if they drop Sonic Blitz right after Rumble, I'm sorry, but nobody's playing this card game, all right? Literally nobody. Maybe like 20 users max. I'm under exaggerating. It'd probably be like a few thousand, but still nothing crazy. But with that said, the release of Rumble has been so unbelievably freaked that I honestly have no faith in them pulling off Blitz, considering just in my opinion how boring it looks. Well, to give credit, at least every single time I've played Rumble, I had a really good time. Like, that's actually a really fun game. I know it's a Fall Guys clone, but I actually think it's more fun than Fall Guys by like a lot. Also, I've been skipping all of it entirely, but there's a ton of dialogue here from the characters in the code, most of which is super plain and not worth reading. But I specifically want to point out the line, super duper, you are such a hooper, just because I don't even care what character this is for. I can't even imagine any mere mortal, human or not, uttering these words. And frankly, I demand an immediate apology in the comments for whoever wrote this line and forced me to read it. Like, I'm getting sick to my own stomach even just reading these lines in my own script. I'm literally going to vomit. Also, yes, the game has a battle pass called the Blitz Pass. Welcome to 2025, where every game is literally required to have one of these. It's definitely getting slightly tedious, but I must admit that I do like how the vast majority of them have been focused on cosmetics purely, and that we're now in a time where games are able to go from being fully priced to completely free to play, solely based off the people who choose to buy these cosmetic passes. Which, shout out you, because there's almost nothing they can add to make me buy most of these outside of Fortnite. I do have a special place in my heart for the Battle Pass, okay? Especially a game I've been playing quite a lot on my break, the new Skate 4, which, yes, is rolling out their own Battle Pass. And in my mind, with these passes, unless they get some like really cool IP collabs like Halo or something, Sonic even, something that really interests me, then I'll bite. But overall, if your name isn't Fortnite, I don't care about spending real money on your Battle Pass or whatever generic name you want to give it. Sonic Blitz has the Blitz Pass. Skate has the Skate Pass. Is it really that hard for you guys to come up with an original naming scheme? However, a lot of this is good news. I mean, some I guess is like medium news, but there is a little bit of bad news, okay? I'm sorry. And I should preface, potentially bad news. This could be nothing, but it could be bad. So let's get into what many people want to know the most about when it comes to Blitz. Like, sure, Sally Acorn is in this and she's remained in the code consistently, but you might have noticed the absence of another character that many are anticipating, and that's Cosmo from Sonic X. Now, she's not definitively removed from the code, as her code is still here. It just has her name removed, which is very easy to do since the majority of the characters I read out still aren't unlockable in the game as of its most recent update, so they're in no rush to add in Cosmo's details, okay? And with the removal of Cosmo's name, as well as Manic's name, and even Sonia's name, despite them keeping her bio on accident, it seems from all of this that these characters from both Underground and X that haven't been touched in forever were supposed to be a big surprise, one that they fumbled with how basic and easy it is to read this code, given an entire lack of encrypted names and just putting everything in plain text. You can literally open up the code, Control F, type in the name, and find it. I didn't like de-encrypt the code or anything, it's there. And also, saving a surprise like this for a card game, really, Sega? Like, come on, at least put them in Crossworlds or something. I know there's already like borderline too many characters in that game, but come on, throw us a bone or something. Remove like a Zeddy and give us Cosmo, okay? Fair trade. So I imagine, since Sega owns all the rights, that these removals are only temporary and will become uncensored and restored closer to release or even at release. But I also want to make it clear that it's possible that a handful of these characters don't make the final release, and nobody can know for sure, since unfortunately, neither me nor any of you are time travelers, so either of us speculating on the future of whether they're in or not is kind of pointless. Like, yes, I appreciate your opinion that they might not be in or they will be in. It doesn't matter. You don't know? I don't know. That said, I do personally believe they'll be in the final one, and they're just trying to preserve any element of surprise possible at this point, but again, only time will tell. There's already much deeper and more obscure picks in here than those, so the fact that they're censoring names like Charmy and Amy, but also putting in obscure picks like Vanilla already, as well as expanding Sally, Antoine, and Bunny's bio, really does make me think Cosmo's going to be in this, as well as the other characters excluded, which I will read the list out of. Now, to be specific about what characters were removed, the list is, as of now, Lyric, Styx, Cosmo, Uncle Chuck, Manic, Candy Carlisle, Pseudosonic, and Shade the Echidna. Now again, none of these characters' code is removed, but rather their name is quite literally just censored and updated to be blank. So with all these updated bios and changes to the code, only time will tell what Sega decides to release, but I don't personally take this as a bad sign at all, other than how bad they are at hiding these secret characters. I mean, that's just bad. With that, give me your thoughts in the comments. Since it's been so long since I uploaded, I'm gonna read through and respond to some, not all of them, but I'll respond to a lot. I know I've been gone a long time, but I already got a couple other videos in the works. I just decided to put this one out first, as this is more important to me and frankly relevant, time-sensitive news. Something I'm trying to be better about, I also made a bunch of Sonic music while I was gone, remixes. I kind of made an entire album, so I'm gonna start rolling that out. Low-key, the production is so insane. I'm actually really proud of it. Here's a Badnik remix, at least a few seconds of it. Sweet Dreams from Sonic 06. I mean, I think I'm cooking here. But you'll just have to wait and see, I guess. Drop a like and sub if you like this video, and really, I do need all the support I can get, okay? And also, yes, I am aware Crossroads released, okay? I'm not, living under a rock. That is one of the videos I've already started on, okay? Don't think I forgot, because I have a lot of things to talk about that game that I'm not seeing anyone else talk about. But that's a topic for another day. For now, lots of love, drop a like, notifications on, because I clearly don't post that much, and peace. Peace! Bye-bye. Bye-bye!
Did you see Baldy McNell's hair? He's hanging around that Princess Elise. You can have her. I went through my human phase. What was I thinking? Anyway, I think I saw Eggman in the restroom. Too many Subway lunches does that. Hey, while he's in there, let me smash another Badnik.